Johnny Depp, Narcissist or Empath. Part 17. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. We now turn to a Rolling Stone interview from June 21st in 2018. Although this is a number of years ago, it's a comprehensive interview which is very useful. It gives us further insight into Depp's character and allows you to see more of his behaviours so that you can apply your learning to understand what you believe him to be. Much of it, and I haven't taken it in its entirety, much of it turns on the financial dispute that was taking place between Depp and the management group and provides quite a lot of detail about that, some of which I've removed for the sake of brevity, focusing on the background detail and principally Depp's reaction to some of the things that were being said about him and observations about the same. The interview states, it's estimated that Depp has made $650 million on films that have netted $3.6 billion, an excellent return on this actor. Almost all of it is gone. He's suing the management group, run by his longtime business manager Joel Mandel and his brother Robert for negligence, breach of fiduciary duty, and fraud. The suit cites, among other things, that under TMG's watch, Depp's sister Christie was given $7 million, and his assistant, Nathan Holmes, $750,000 without his knowledge, and that he has paid the IRS more than $5.6 million in late fees. Much of the complaint is directed towards Joel, who had day-to-day responsibility for Depp's account. There are additional charges of conflict of interest, saying that TMG invested Depp's money for its own purposes and returned it without profit. The suit seeks more than $25 million from TMG, accounting for tens of millions it claims TMG illegally took for its commission, plus any additional damages the court sees fit. Was this litigation brought as an attempt to blame shift for Depp's inability to manage his own finances? Or was he doing so rightfully because he was essentially being diddled by the people that he trusted to look after his affairs? Is it the case that this was another incident of the trust that Johnny Depp exhibited towards other people being abused? The Mandels categorically deny all wrongdoing and are countersuing, alleging that Depp breached his oral contract with the company. The suit suggests that Depp has a $2 million a month compulsory spending or disorder, offering bon mots like, wine is not an investment if you drink it as soon as you buy it. Depp was continuing to concoct malicious and false allegations against the company, according to TMG's countersuit, because TMG had filed a private foreclosure notice on one of Depp's properties, claiming Depp owes TMG $4.2 million in unpaid loans. This is an abrogation of responsibility in failing to pay his advisors, and the bringing of litigation purely a response to a threat to control posed by TMG trying to hold him to account. The interview explains that over the past 18 months there has been little but bad news for Depp. In addition to the financial woes, there were reports he couldn't remember his lines and had to have them fed to him through an earpiece. He had split from his longtime lawyer and agent, and he was alone. It's often the case that certain narcissists find themselves in such a position as a collateral consequence of their behaviour. The need to assert control in the moment, the need to draw fuel in the moment, leads to fractious and haphazard relationships. Depp's tabloid-scarred divorce from actress Heard is complete, but not before there were persuasive allegations of physical abuse that Depp vehemently denies. Depp's inner circle had begged him not to wed Heard, or to at least obtain a prenup. Depp ignored his loved one's advice. Is this a pig-headed sense of entitlement, or quite simply somebody who's a love devotee, who would rather trust an individual rather than listen to the words of other individuals? During my London visit, the interviewer wrote, Depp is alternately hilarious, sly, and incoherent. The days begin after dark and run until first light. There is a scared, hunted look about him. Despite grand talks about hitting the town, we never leave the house. As Depp's mind leads us down various rabbit holes, I often think of a line that he recited as Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland. Have I gone mad? Depp and Tom Petty had long been friends, and Petty's death hit Depp hard. We call each other and ask, "Hey, you still smoking?" Depp recalls. Tom would go, "Yeah, I'm still smoking," and I'd feel better. Well, if Tom is still smoking, I'm okay. Is this an abrogation of responsibility? Depp goes quiet, perhaps realising the sadness of what he had just said. He wipes his eyes. I loved him, he says. Genuine exhibition of emotional empathy, or facade management by way of a pity play. The two shared more in common than an addiction to nicotine. They both arrived in Los Angeles Whiskey Tango from Florida, intent on making it as rockers, perfectly played by Depp in the video for Petty's Into the Great Wide Open. Depp changed course after an LA drinking buddy named Nicolas Cage told him there was money to make in acting. A constant in Depp's business was his older sister, Christy, who managed his day-to-day affairs. She never responded to requests for comment for this story. In 1999, they realised that his current management company couldn't handle his rapidly expanding financial affairs, and they needed to move to a bigger firm. By then, Depp had moved above Sunset Boulevard to an 8,000-square-foot estate nicknamed Dracula's Castle. Depp spent a day interviewing financial managers. His last meeting, he says, was with Robert and Joel Mandel, brothers who ran TMG. Depp says he immediately took a shine to Joel, the youngest child of an Auschwitz survivor. Depp saw a kindred spirit. He was a nervous wreck, says Depp. He was pouring sweat. He was broken. Is this a revision of history in the recounting of this tale to make Depp seem kind and caring to the interviewer? Does he talk about a kindred spirit because he engages in mirroring? Or is this genuine emotional empathy being exhibited by Depp for this person? TMG disputes the portrayal. The interviewer asks Depp why he would place his money in the hands of a person he would describe as a broken toy. Depp says because he felt a kinship. The monofilament that goes through all my characters, if you really look, they're all fuck-ups. They're broken. Is this a recognition of what he is, or is it perhaps just a pity play? Depp flips through the news and comes across a report on Harvey Weinstein. He shakes his head and calls him an asshole for burying his film Dead Man because director Jim Jarmusch refused to give up his contractually mandated final cut. He was a bully, says Depp. Have you seen his wife? It's not a wide range. It's not like he went, I must go to the Poconos to find some hairy-backed bitch. This is smearing and an insult. This would support a lack of emotional empathy. Depp pauses, ruminating on whether he is being unkind. He mentions that once he tagged along as Weinstein was picking up his kid from school, and that he could tell Weinstein really loved her. The image that took my breath away was Harvey Weinstein, a Goliath Shrek thing, bending down to put on his daughter's raincoat. Well, you ought to be aware from my analysis of Weinstein, comes as no surprise to you, I'm sure, Weinstein is a narcissist, and therefore that exhibition of behaviour was purely done for show for the purpose of assertion of control. Depp, unable to see through it, shows perhaps a poor judge of character, but one that many people would be fooled by. The interview continues, stating it was Adam Waldman who first contacted Rolling Stone about writing a story about the injustice being done to Depp's reputation and bottom line. He pointed to what he perceived to be an anti-Depp story in The Hollywood Reporter, where the Mandels were cast as eminently reasonable men who repeatedly tried to warn Depp about his precarious financial positioning. Nobody from TMG was quoted, but Waldman was convinced its fingerprints were all over the story. Waldman joined the game in October 2016, having been told by a client that Depp needed help. TMG had just slapped the foreclosure notice on his Los Angeles homes for failure to make payments on a $5 million loan from the company. TMG had filed it as a non-judicial foreclosure, so there were no public filings. The public at this point had no idea of Depp's financial situation. Waldman was about to change that. He says he joined Depp for dinner at the Bel Air home of Ed White, Depp's new accountant. Waldman says that White mentioned that he believed TMG had taken a cavalier approach to Depp's accounts. Waldman listened closely and said he'd investigate the situation. Waldman and Depp quickly became compadres. When Waldman would find a friend he thought was on the Mandel side, he'd call the star and just say Tessio, after the Abe Vigoda character who betrays the Corleones in The Godfather. Depp instantly understood and would mutter back, "Fucking Tessio." 2 months later, under Waldman's guidance, Depp filed his lawsuit against the Mandels. The suit claimed that Depp wasn't given monthly financial statements and was often presented only a signature page to sign for transactions. The suit further alleged that in addition to the $7 million given to his sister Christie, TMG had cost Depp $6 million in tacked-on fees by paying his IRS taxes late for 13 years straight. Depp accused TMG of taking out $34 million in loans in his name as a result of mismanagement, with the final straw being a $12.5 million hard money loan, engineered by his longtime attorney Jake Bloom in 2014 at 10% interest. The loan stipulated Christie's, Bloom's and the Mandels' fees would be paid before loan repayments, and definitely before Depp saw a dime of residuals from his Pirates of the Caribbean series. Waldman is Depp's self-styled Avenger. No one challenges the monster of Hollywood and survives, Waldman tells me. Everyone is too afraid. Johnny is not afraid. Asked what he thought about all the legal shenanigans, Depp shrugs. "I'm just a small part of this," he says. "It's the fucking Matrix. I didn't see the movie and I didn't understand the script, but here's what it is." The involvement of Waldman demonstrates perhaps an abrogation of responsibility by Depp, just allowing somebody else to take matters over and act as his Rottweiler. Or might this actually be that he's delegating responsibility to somebody else and actually finds himself being influenced by this person's behaviour, that he takes on board what they have to say, perhaps too readily? Unfortunately for Depp, TMG filed a thermonuclear complaint. The lawsuit described the actor as a spoiled brat with no impulse control. Impulsivity can be shown by a narcissist, but we also know that's part of the ADHD diagnosis that Dr. Kipper made. Kump noted TMG had never been sued by any of its other clients, and that Depp lived an ultra-extravagant lifestyle that often knowingly cost Depp in excess of $2 million a month to maintain, which he simply couldn't afford. Is this grandiosity and an absence of accountability? The suit claims Depp did give millions to Christie and other friends and family, but the star knew all about it, and still employed those who benefited from his money. Kump pressed on, arguing that Depp has also spent millions to employ an army of attorneys, in addition to his longtime personal attorney Bloom, to bail him out of numerous legal crises and to pay hush money. Is this demonstrative of his repeated failures to exercise accountability, failure to rein in his sense of entitlement, and, of course, the assertion of control of mopping up his various indiscretions? Then things got personal. According to the suit, Depp kept a sound engineer on the payroll so he could feed him lines through an earpiece while filming. This Depp does not deny, saying the sounds fed to him made him act with just his eyes. Is this magical thinking and deflection? "I've got bagpipes, a baby crying, and bombs going off," says Depp. "It creates a truth. Some of my biggest heroes were in silent film," Depp tells me, lighting another cigarette. "It had to be behind the eyes, and my feeling is that if there's no truth behind the eyes, doesn't matter what the fucking words are." Is this a particular style of acting that he adopted and he's utilising the truth, or was it the case that as a consequence of his inability to stay sober, he did have to be fed his lines in order to ensure that he continued to act? You continue to listen to the evidence to make the determination. And in part 18, we will continue with more revelations provided by this in-depth Rolling Stone interview.